The Supremes, the trio, is getting together for a summer tour of the U.S. However, because of reported squabbles over money, Mary Wilson and Cindy Birdsong, the surviving Supremes, who actually sang with Ross, will not be joining her on tour. Instead, Diana Ross will sing with two lesser-known Supremes who joined the group after she departed. Recently, I sat down with Diana and asked her how the idea for the tour came about.
You know, it's interesting because this idea is something that evidently became very powerful on its own. This was not my plan. I was getting ready to plan a tour to go out to promote my new album. So what happened is the media just got a hold of the idea that I was going to expand the tour, do more Supreme songs, and it went out as if it was going to be a reunion tour. And I went like, okay, if this is what you want, then I'll try to make that happen. So that's really how it started. Like an idea whose time has come.
You are going out on tour with the Supremes,
yes,
but perhaps not the Supremes that people would expect.
Yeah.
A couple of different names.
Yeah, but they are Supremes.
Exactly. They were Supremes after you left the group in 1970.
Yes. It's been quite a history. I was with the Supremes from 1960 to 1970. And from 1970 to today, 30 years, I've been a solo act. But the name and the Supremes legacy has continued for the last 30 years. In 1970, Jean Terrell replaced me, and then I think the girls you'll meet today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Supremes, Lynda, Laurence, and Scherrie Payne. Lynda came in 1971, and then Scherrie in 1973, and they've been performing as Supremes all over the world for the last 30 years. Singing the music.
Are you disappointed at all that you couldn't work it out with Mary Wilson?
But it's not me. I would love to have.
That anybody couldn't work it out.
Yeah, I made the initial call. I had hoped that they wanted to be involved. The promoters dealt with their lawyers and and it went on and on and on till it was a possibility there would be no tour at all. So I took the challenge, and the challenge was, what is important here? It's important to do the music, to go out, I just thought, right now, do I really want to step back after 30 years and just, be a part of a trio? Because it's about the music. The truth is, these are my songs for 30, I've done these songs. It's my voice, my songs, so I'll get out there and sing them.
But you know that when you talk about tours today, and they can be so profitable, that money inevitably gets in the way of some of these things.
I don't know that it does. I don't know that it does. It will be an expensive tour. In other words, we're going to build new sets and new costumes and dancers and music and arrangements, and it will be an expensive tour. But money is not the issue. I really don't think money is an issue at all.
Do you ever get people come up to you on the street and they say, boy, this song, I want you to know what that meant in my life.
Their memories,
it was my marriage, it was my breakup. And I mean, though it's amazing to have songs play such an important role in people's lives.
Yes. And it's interesting, today it's different. You might not even remember the name of a group. You might remember the name of a song, but you won't remember that it came from an album or a movie. And I just think it's really interesting that the era that we grew up in and the kind of music that... Also, the Supremes were more than that. It was an image. No matter what you do or say, I'm gonna love you anyway. Keeps me up crying. Young people have said to me, mostly, what we represented was an opportunity, a possibility to have a better life, especially young kids from the ghetto or some starting out wanting to be a performer.
Do you ever stop to realize also the social significance of this group in terms of race?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the first groups, the Supremes were one of the first groups that were embraced by not only the African-American community, but the white community as well. And that didn't happen an awful lot at that time.
No. What happened is we weren't aware of that until much later, but Berry Gordy evidently had a vision. He knew something, because early on, he didn't even put our pictures on the covers, because right before the Supremes and the Motown sound, the sound of young America it was, our black music was called race music. It wasn't played on the radio. There were certain DJs like Dick Clark who was able to kind of cross over, and that's where the word cross over the line, because they started playing the music on the radio, and we made it okay. The Supremes and Motown made it okay to listen to our music.
When you hear the word Diana Ross, the role model, does it put extra pressure on you these days?
It has always been important to me to to be a good role model, to make a difference somehow, and to, yeah, it's not a pressure, but it's hard to kind of, be perfect. We're not all perfect. Things happen in your life and you're not perfect.
Let's talk about a word that has been used in connection with you, and I'm just curious whether it's taken as something that you think is negative or it's a compliment these days, and that is the word diva. What does it mean to you?
I don't think it's negative. I think it's positive. I think it's a new thing for women to be powerful and in charge of their own lives, and power in a very positive sense, in charge of yourself. I think it's positive because it has an image of strength, which, it's taken us a long time with the women's movement and everything to be able to say yes, or to say no when necessary.
But it's interesting because you say powerful and in charge, and there's a very fine line between powerful and in charge and what people perceive as pushy and difficult.
Well, they don't say that about you.
No, that's true.
If you're in charge of your own destiny. Mostly, I just like to be in charge of my own destiny. I haven't had a manager for years. I do not mind discussing and talking about the issues that people don't like to talk about, like negotiations and money and things like that. I'm willing to do that when it's uncomfortable. This is show business. It's a business, so you'll have to be responsible for your own career. So if diva means being responsible for your life, being able to take the credit and the blame if necessary, I've learned that over the years.
The last time diva was used in a headline with your name was after the infamous now incident at the airport in London.
Did they say diva then?
I think the headline I saw was, diva on the loose again, where you had been frisked and you didn't like the way you were frisked and you kind of were very strong in your reaction. And do you think people mistook your reaction as you were being difficult in an airport, and here goes Diana Ross again?
Well, people like to deal with the negative. I try to stay with my higher self, and what was going on really at that time was that I thought I was being touched in an incorrect way, and I tried to complain about it, and it just shows me something about no matter who you are, you need to stand up for what you think is right about your physical self, and it's what I teach my children, my boys, my girls. If anyone, since they were little, touches you in a way that bothers you and you feel is incorrect, tell someone. And so basically I was trying to complain about that. I must say that it was, I was a little loud.
Looking back, do you think you got a little out of hand?
No. When I got to the police station at the airport, it was very frightening to me because I had never been in that situation before. It was a scary experience. I'm a little bit afraid to travel now.
You talk about the travels you've done over 40 years. If I look back in that period and I look at your career, and I know that people think of you as a singer, as a musician, as an entrepreneur, you've been awfully successful in business, and as a mother. Which of those labels would you most want attached to your name?
Well, first of all, I know where my values and my goals are. They're wrapped around my children. I'm a mother first. And then I've always said that the career has to work around that. The career has to, if I'm to have a career, it's got to, in fact, I actually stopped singing for a while. I began again because I realized that I have a gift, and this is what my life was about, to travel, to sing, to make music. And I have this God-given gift, and I needed to be performing and singing, making movies, and so I went back to work. But my children are the most important part of my life. I'm a mother first. I mother my band. I mother everybody around me. That's who I am.
Diana Ross, and tomorrow in part 2 of my interview with Diana Ross, we'll sit down and talk about the Supreme Shoulders. Yesterday we talked about her going on stage without Cindy Birdsong and Mary Wilson, the surviving Supremes who actually performed with her. Instead, she'll be singing with Lynda, Laurence, and Scherrie, Payne, 2 Supremes who joined the group in the 70s after Diana launched her solo career. Today, for part 2 of my interview with Diana Ross, we're joined by Lynda and Scherrie, and I asked Diana if this tour can technically be called a Supremes reunion.
We've never called it a reunion tour. Right. The press did that. I keep trying to reiterate that.
Right.
We never said it was a reunion tour. The press said it was a reunion tour.
You two have never actually worked with Miss Ross. So what's it like breaking in the new girl?
That's a good one. I like that question.
Yeah,
it really is.
These songs, I mean, you've sung them 1,000 times. I could probably sing half of them in my sleep. But what's it like to bring three talents together that haven't worked together in the past and get this right? Sherrie?
The hardest part is getting the lyrics right, because even the fans, they know the songs better than we do.
That's right.
So yeah, what happens if in the middle of the song you can't remember the lyrics?
Believe me, that has happened.
Well, I will know them by the tour, but it's right. At rehearsal, I mean, I had to have my sheets in front of me, and I went like, you mean to tell me that we did this verse 3 times? You know, it was fun because we actually had a rehearsal to get prepared for the first show we did. We had to play the actual recordings to remind ourselves of the style, because I wanted very much for the show to have authenticity. I wanted the music to sound like it sounded when it was first recorded.
Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. Stop in the name of love before you break my heart.
And I also had to remember when to say, think it over, and no ad-libbing, you know.
Yes. And my favorite part in Love and Tears when she goes,
And she has that down now? You've got that? Because we don't want to miss that.
Michael Jackson stole that from me. It's not mine anymore.
A lot of things, apparently.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Let's talk about why you think these songs are so special to people still today. There was a lot of music happening in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Why are these songs so special to people?
Ta-da.
well, you know, the tour is called Return to Love. And these songs have love, all love child, love is here, love is like an itching, you know, where'd our love go? So it's about love. And I think during the time in the 60s when it was volatile, you know, all the things that were going on in the 60s, these songs were about love. And people could really relate to them. And certainly now, when teenage rebellion has gone to a new height, we really need songs about love again. And so parents have just let their children hear the songs, so they know the songs, the grandparents know the songs. You know, it's wonderful because these songs have transcended time.
It's also this image, and we talked about this before, and that you folks had an image. You were taught how to present yourselves, how to dress, how to speak, how to really be ladies.
Yes.
When you look at pop stars today, do you think that they've lost that knack of how to be polite, nice citizens?
I think it's become quite liberal, much too liberal. Just watching, you know, some of the bumping and grinding and the dress and so, the way they carry themselves. And some of the songs are really good. But I have a feeling that that's the reason why they sample a lot of the music from the 60s, is because they're still learning about melody and things like that. There are some really good groups.
It's nice to see things that are wholesome again. I mean, when you think of it, you were young ladies at the time. You look at the young ladies who are recording stars these days, and they're nice girls. But the record companies, it seems, put them out there in these flimsy outfits. They're 17 years old, and they're dressed like they're 35 years old. And it's a whole different atmosphere these days.
It's really sort of scary. I have a 15-year-old, Shoshana, and the example that they're setting is sort of frightening. And like you said, they're nice young ladies. They're wonderfully talented. But everything is so sexual nowadays.
Right. The projection is very important. When we started out, when we started doing what we do, the most important thing was to be a lady. You see, because, you know, we were asked the question yesterday, what is a diva? And I said, well, it's what to do, how to do it, and then to do it graciously. So that's
an
really
answer. That's a good answer. I want to remember that one.
As you head out on the road, what makes you most nervous?
I have a way of changing my language. I'm not nervous, I'm excited.
Yes.
I feel really like this is just an important thing for us to do. We'll just do it for this summer. We'll decide whether we'll do it any further, if we tour anymore. So I'm excited more than nervous. I think we have also extended invitations to every Supreme. By the way, change has been so inherent as part of our group. There's been 8 Supremes. You came in 71, 73, and this is Lynda, Laurence, Scherrie, Payne. I don't know if we said that, or did we say that full name? Because that's important that everybody really knows what part they played in this, because they really have kept the legacy alive. They've been singing more of the songs than I have, really, over the years.
We know the music's going to be great. I hope you have fun.
We are going to have
gonna
fun.
have fun.
I am sure of it.
Diana Ross, Scherrie Payne, and Lynda Laurence will kick off the Return to Love tour in Philadelphia on June 14th. They'll tour 30 cities throughout mid-August. Up next,